Hello and welcome to Film Physicality. In this video, I'll be ranking the Shudder movies that I have in my collection. Let's get to it. Okay, so for this list, I will be specifically ranking the Shudder movies that I own physically in my collection. I still do not have Shudder, but I do plan to get it soon. So if by this list you can think of any movies that you have seen on Shudder and you think I would like, don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. I will also try to go pretty quickly through them because I do have 23 of them. And they are mostly Shudder originals, but some of them are Shudder exclusives as well. Okay, so let's start with number 23, which we have The Beach House. This is a Shudder original from 2019 and it's directed by Jeffrey A. Brown, which I don't think he's directed much else. So on this one, Emily and her boyfriend Randall decide to take a short vacation at a beach house. However, the break soon turns into a real struggle for survival when an infection starts to plague the house. So this one, I just found it to be mostly boring. There's not much stuff happening, and then when stuff does happen, it's mostly body horror, which body horror is not my favorite type of horror, but I guess that's a personal thing. Then at number 22, we have The Room. This is from 2019 and it's directed by Christian Volkmann, which he has another film called Renaissance, which is an animated one starring Daniel Craig, which I haven't seen. This is about a couple who discover a strange room in their new house that grants material wishes. But of course, some wishes have dire consequences. So this one was okay. I did enjoy the film. However, I think it has way too many plot holes in my opinion. And then the third act just gets very messy as well. Then at number 21, which I hate to put so low, is Mad God. This is from 2021. It's directed by Phil Tippett, who he has done the special effects for a lot of great films, including Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park. But this one he directed, and he spent a surprising 30 years making. And it's a stop motion film, a mix of live action and stop motion, but mostly stop motion. And so on this one, a figure known as the Assassin descends from the heavens into a nightmarish pit full of monsters, titans, and cruelty. And so yeah, this one has very, very great visuals. It looks great, and it also has very creepy scenes. However, my only issue with it is that it has basically no plot. So, great visuals, but basically no plot doesn't really do it for me. Okay, so now we're at the top 20, and at number 20, I have one that I also hate, but it's so low, but it's Mandy. This one's from 2018, and it's directed by Panos Cosmatos, which he directed an episode on the recent Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. On this one, outsiders Rhett Miller and Mandy Bloom lead a loving and peaceful life. But then their haven is savagely destroyed by a cult. And so now Rhett is out to seek bloody revenge. So this one stars Nicolas Cage, and he was great at it, and I did like the film. However, I think it was a bit too artsy in my opinion. Then at number 19, I have Scare Me. This one's from 2020 and it's directed by Josh Rubin, and he also stars on it as well. And he also directed Werewolves Within. So this one is about two strangers that tell scary stories in a cabin during a power outage. But then the stories start getting a bit too real. So this one does drag at times, but I did truly enjoy it. It's pretty fun and it has good dialogue and it's done in a very interesting style. Then at number 18, I have Gwen. This is from 2018 and it's directed by William McGregor, who he directed the miniseries called One of Us. So on this one, young Gwen struggles with her family's mysterious illness, her father's absence, and a mining company that's trying to take their land. But then, as a growing darkness begins to take grip, the local community grows suspicious and slowly turns on the family as well. So this is a slow burner folktale that takes elements from The Witch, but without a very good payoff at the end. It is beautifully shot though, with some pretty great acting, which in my opinion makes it a pretty decent film. At number 17, it's The Boy Behind the Door. This is from 2020 and it's co-directed by David Charbonnier and Justin Powell, which they both co-directed The Gene as well. This one is about a kid named Bobby who tries to save himself and his best friend when they are both kidnapped on their way home from school. So this one really surprised me. I wasn't expecting much. It is a low-budget single location movie, but it has great tension and suspense that it's felt all throughout the movie from beginning to end, which just makes for a pretty fun movie overall. Then at number 16, we have Belzebuth. This is from 2017 and it's a Mexican horror film directed by Emilio Portes. On this one, as a detective looks into the mass murders of children, the investigation leads to an excommunicated priest and potentially a supernatural culprit. So this one has a nice mix of mystery and horror. with some pretty creepy scenes and some scenes that I've personally found to be pretty scary. At number 15, I have Watcher. This is from 2022 and is directed by Chloe Okuno, who before this she did an episode on VHS 94. So this is a psychological thriller where a woman starts getting stalked by a person shortly after moving to Romania with her husband. She then starts to become paranoid as she tries to get everyone else to believe her. So this one I enjoyed. It's a pretty simple and straightforward story, but it does a great job of keeping you intrigued and second guessing the main character. Then at number 14 we have La Llorona. This is from 2019 and it's a Guatemalan horror film directed by Jairo Bustamante. And I think this is actually the only Shudder original that has gotten a Criterion release. And yeah, you can even see here it has Shudder. Anyways, on this one, accused of the genocide of Mayan people, retired General Enrique and his family are trapped in his mansion by massive protest. While there also seems to be a growing sense that a wrathful supernatural force is targeting them for his crimes. So this is mostly a thriller with very few horror elements, but the directing and the soundtrack are so good. There are parts in the movie where they really make you feel the tension of the scene. That being said though, the film does drag a bit at times. At number 13, I then have Superhost. This is from 2021 and it's directed by Brandon Christensen, who also directed the movie Z Wants to Play, which is actually another Shudder original, which is here somewhere. Anyways, this is about two travel vloggers that check into a vacation rental with a host that seems like she would do anything for a good review. But they might soon find out that she might want more than just a good review. So I had low expectations for this one, but I was pleasantly surprised. The film was super fun, especially Gracie Gillam, which I think her character was very fun and she gave a great performance. I'm surprised I haven't seen anything more recent from her. Then at number 12, I have Caveat. This is a UK horror film directed by Damien McCarthy and it's from 2020. This one is about a lone drifter suffering from partial memory loss who accepts the job to look after a psychologically troubled woman in an abandoned house on an abandoned island. So this one I found to be pretty original with a very nice atmosphere. It has a good mix of psychological and supernatural horror with some very creepy scenes. That'll probably satisfy anyone's hunger for creepiness. At number 11, I then have Resurrection. This is from 2022 and it's directed by Andrew Simmons, who also directed Nancy Please. On this one, a woman's carefully constructed life gets turned upside down when an unwelcome shadow from her past returns, forcing her to confront the monster she's evaded for 2 decades. So this one is mostly a mystery thriller with very little horror elements, but it stars Rebecca Hall and of course she gives an amazing performance as always. And she stars along Team Roth, which also gives a great performance as well. I love the atmosphere of the movie, and the movie keeps you interested in the story and where it's going the whole time. I would have preferred a better ending in my opinion though, or at least not be left so open. Okay, so we've made it to my top 10 Shudder movies, and at number 10 I have The Dark and the Wicked. This is from 2020 and it's directed by Brian Bertino, who actually was the director of The Strangers. On this one, plagued by waking nightmares, two siblings suspect that something evil is taking over their family at an isolated farmhouse. So this one is pretty dark and wicked. It does have a great atmosphere and some genuinely scary and creepy scenes, including one very shocking scene that if you've seen the movie, you know which one I'm talking about. At number 9, we then have Impetigore. This is from 2019 and it's an Indonesian horror film directed by Joko Anwar, which I'm probably saying wrong. So this is about a woman who inherits a house in her ancestral village, but she is unaware that members of the community have been trying to locate and kill her to remove the curse that has plagued them for years. So this one is a folk horror that mixes in supernatural elements as well. And the horror is pretty great on this one. The whole thing with the puppets I particularly found very disturbing. It does get kind of slow at times, but I think everything else makes up for it. At number 8, I then have the Mortuary collection, which is actually an anthology film from 2019 that's directed by Ryan Spendell. On this one, in the town of Ravensend, a misguided young girl takes refuge in a decrepit old mortuary. The mortuary undertaker then chronicles the strange history of the town through a series of twisted tales, each more terrifying than the last. So this one I thought was so much fun. Each one of the short stories is fun in its own way, and I love how it's all connected to the mortuary and the town, but I especially love the twist at the end. At number 7, I then have Anything for Jackson. This is from 2020 and it's directed by Justin D. Dyke, which surprisingly before this had only directed a lot of rom-coms. Anyways, on this one, a sinister couple hatch a supernatural scheme to resurrect their dead grandson through a pregnant woman. So this one has a very unsettling vibe all throughout the film. It kind of has the atmosphere that you would think would be a slow burner movie, but then the movie just keeps you on the edge of your seat all throughout. It was just overall a very good supernatural story with some tension and some genuinely scary moments. Some people don't like the ending, but I didn't mind it, and I think everything else makes up for it. Then at number 6, I have Host. This is from 2020 and it's directed by Rob Savage, which he directed the more recent one, Dashcam. And so on this one, during an online seance via Zoom, 6 friends accidentally invite the attention of a demonic presence, and then begin to start noticing strange occurrences in their homes. So this is the one that everyone probably knows. There was a lot of hype around this one, and yeah, there's not much to say. You don't really watch this one for the story or the acting. It's mostly just because of the scare factor, which is really good on this one. And it's mostly up here just because of that and its originality as well. Then at number 5, I have Colorado Space. This is from 2019 and it's directed by Richard Stanley. On this one, after a meteorite lands in the front yard of their farm, Nathan Gardner and his family find themselves battling a mutant extraterrestrial organism that infects their minds and bodies, transforming their quiet rural life into a technicolor nightmare. So this one also stars Nicolas Cage, and it is also very artsy with some beautiful imagery, but I ended up enjoying this one a lot more than Mandy. This one I think just gets you more invested in the story. And I think the performance by not only Nick Cage, but from everyone and their dynamic was very good. It is overall just a pretty trippy and crazy film. At number 4, I then have Prevenge. This is from 2016 and it's directed and starred by Alice Lowe. And so this is about a pregnant widow believing herself to be guided by her unborn child to embark on a homicidal rampage. And so this movie was very fun. It's straightforward and simple. Well, not so simple to create though, since Alice Lowe was pregnant in real life when she both directed and starred in the film. And of course her character needed to be pregnant throughout the film, so it was shot on a very short time. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward story that's just very fun all throughout. It has some nice kill scenes with also some pretty good humor mixed in, and a pretty good reveal at the end. Okay, so we've made it to my top 3. And at number 3, I have Z, or Z Wants to Play. This is from 2019 and it's directed by Brandon Christensen, which he also directed Superhost, which we mentioned earlier, and he also directed Stillborn. On this one, Kevin and Beth notice that their 8-year-old son Josh has spent a lot of time playing with his new imaginary friend named Z. What at first starts like a harmless relationship quickly then turns into something destructive and dangerous. So I know this is not everyone's favorite, and a lot of people didn't like it at all. I know it does have its flaws, but this one was just really up my alley. I don't know what it is really, but I've watched this 3 times already and I always enjoy it from start to finish. It's a story we've seen already, but I think it has some originality to it, and I do find it to be pretty scary as well. Which I know a lot of people would probably argue that it's not, but horror is subjective and I guess this is what works for me. Okay, so at number 2, I have Tigers Are Not Afraid. This is from 2017 and it's a Mexican drama horror directed by Isa Lopez. And so this one is about a gang of 5 children trying to survive the horrific violence of the cartels and the ghosts created every day by the drug war. So this is mostly a drama horror, very reminiscent and very much in the style of The Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth, which are both directed by Guillermo del Toro. And the director of this one did state that Guillermo del Toro was her inspiration. Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite directors, so of course this one was going to be right up my alley. It is a very well made and heartfelt story, and then just adding the ghost and the supernatural elements just make it that much better. It's one I definitely recommend. Okay, so number 1, my top Shudder film, and that's Terrified. This is an Argentinian horror film from 2017 and it's directed by Demian Hrupna. On this one, 3 paranormal researchers, along with a police commissioner, investigate strange events in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires. And so this is another one that's a ghost story, and I just think that this one is so good from beginning to end. It has a lot of different entities, and they all look very good and very creepy. Plus, there is a sense of mystery that is felt all throughout, along with great suspense and tension as well. It's a film that really scared me the first time I watched it, and I always recommend it to people ever seen. I've probably seen this one like 5 times now. Okay, and so that completes my ranking of the Shudder films that I own. Let me know if you agree with this list, if you don't agree, which you probably don't. And then if you don't agree, let me know what are your favorite Shudder movies. And if you have recommendations, please let me know in the comment section below as well. And yeah, remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next one.